Welcome, everybody, to episode 78 of Overdriven, the ORL podcast. Big one to talk about this week, season opening weekend, Talladega, plate track racing, lots to discuss. As always, joined by Bren. What up, Bren?
Hello, Mets.
Hello, Bren. And then, as always, joined by Hendrick. What up, Hendrick?
What's going on, everybody?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This week was very adventurous. So we'll start with the Premier Series. I think overall it was probably one of the better plate racing races we've ever had. I really enjoyed. I think I watched a couple streams based on it, around it. Probably 3 or 4. I think I love to watch the different teams and manufacturers have a certain game plan. They stuck to their game plan. And you can really see the work they put in, and it really paid off when it came to strategy play and working together and doing the most possible. We only had one caution the whole race, and that was to end stage 1, I do believe. Besides that, it was a great race overall. Brad, how was your fun experience racing in a forward for the first time?
Led a few laps in stage 1. That was probably the shining point of the night, in terms of track position. Felt like every time we got something going, obviously all night long, I felt like we were really connected as a group. HVM, GRM, we really stayed connected. I think that was a big thing for us, is just being connected all night, because obviously we knew we had the speed. Those Fords, dude, you can push so much with them. The biggest problem that I felt like in terms of whenever we pitted a little bit later, or we would have a different strategy from other groups just to be able to maybe jump them or catch them, because we had good cars and we were able to make moves. We were able to go through the middle. A lot of us were able to just make moves. I would be able to follow Sterlo or maybe Valley at times. But the biggest problem that we had was that we would get other cars in our group, and whether or not it was our fault, we would get out of the line one time and they would just keep shoving us. And that's what happened in stage 2. We lost 2 of our guys just because people were just shoving without a plan. That was the most frustrating thing to me. Other than that, I felt like strategy played out very fun. Obviously we had cars that could move through the field, but we had certain front runners up front that stayed up all night. The end of the race, came up, I was with Sterlo, and then B13 got turned. Unfortunately, we got caught up in that mess. I drove through it, but that basically ended my shot at winning it. That's usually how all my Super CAs races end. I usually get caught up in something at the end of the race, and then I just salvage maybe a top 10, like 9th or 8th. That's the most frustrating thing for me, is that majority of my races at these type of tracks, they always end that way, and I'm like, dude, let me have one shot to have like inside the top 5 with like on the white flag, please.
Yeah, just a little chance. Just give me some chance. Hendrick, how about you? I know
Right.
you qualified in the Charter 40 for the first time. How was your experience at Talladega for the Premier season opener?
It was really difficult. I never had to go in as the Charter 40 car, and I didn't know what exactly the disadvantages were. And I found that out the hard way while racing. I didn't really hear anybody in the Discord chat, so it was kind of hard for me to communicate with people. Besides iTrip, I will shout him out. He was pretty much my biggest helper throughout that entire race. But like in terms of everyone else, they were just dead mute. I know they were like in their own parties, but it was really hard to talk to some people, especially when it comes to trying to work with them. And it really caused a lot of confusion when it came to me trying to enter in pit road. There were a couple times where I would lose the draft because I was trying to follow certain people just to, just to be in that group, and I don't. They just choreographed it to where it just made it really difficult for me to stay with them. Um, Besides from that, at the very end, I know the car was faster. I was able to compete. Just unfortunately, just had a couple issues, and then was still able to get a top 10 from it. So yeah, there was a lot that went wrong with it, but it wasn't bad either. Um, but yeah, I do feel bad for Tango, who didn't get to qualify in because of that, because of certain restrictions that happened. You those people know who they are. That is their fault. But yeah, I'm definitely happy with the top 10.
Yeah. What was y'all's experience like? I don't know y'all experience, but what did y'all feel like the experience wise compared to like other premier Talladega races? I know we were just there probably a month or two ago in the round of eight first race. What was y'all experience like compared to that race and this season opener race? You feel like it was more calm and cool, collected, knowing the first race compared to a playoff, or did y'all feel like the intensity was up? You had to get everything you had to. Everybody, for the most part, knew how to do lines. How to move the lines, move how to show more patience. So how did y'all feel the difference was?
You want to go first, Hendrik, or me?
I can go first. I mean, really, like before pit stops began and everyone got separated. Um, I mean, I was kind of running towards like 15th to 20th for a good portion of it. Uh, it felt, kind of difficult to make moves, at least for my side of things, because not a lot of people really wanted to work with me for some reason. But yeah, just trying to like move lines just to try and just, put yourself in a better position. That was intriguing. Um, it wasn't like one of those things where like you just stayed in the position for 20 plus laps and then you pit. It was constantly changing every single lap. It was just a matter of where you were and where everyone else was wanting to go, and if you're able to blend in with them or not.
Yeah. How about you, Bryn?
Okay. My thought is that the last time we ran Talladega here, I feel like the aggressive level was a little bit higher. I felt like I think we were a lot more aggressive. At least I was willing to stick it in the middle if I had someone that I could follow through and I could push them. But in terms of other people, I feel like a lot of people this time around, they were just a little bit more cautious, just trying to get used to one another. And I understood that. I think that was a good mindset going into it. Be a little bit cautious, don't be too aggressive. I'm still disappointed that all in all, everyone's hard work, we still had a big one at the end, under five to go. I feel like at the end of these races, we've had a lot of those. So I'm hoping the next time we either run a super sealer, we can just keep it clean. I know Atlanta's coming up, so hey, I just don't want a wreck to happen, man. It just everyone just gets mad at the end of the night. I hate seeing the chat messages, and I just don't want a wreck to happen in the last five laps. I feel like clockwork. There's always one incident, and then we have chat messengers, and just goes off. So
Yeah, it's one of those
overall,
things where aggressiveness is going to turn up the volume a little bit, spinning off the bumper, little, extra pushes
mhm,
here and there. Maybe loosen the car up a little more than you want to. If pushing in the wrong way, quarter panel can send somebody
burn them.
around and turn somebody around, and you're blocking the whole interstate of Talladega, and you just have nowhere to go, and you have to dodge and miss it below the apron, or dodge, get caught up in it and try to keep the car straight and best possible to get the best finish. So it's pretty much, it's chaos like that. I enjoyed it though for what it was. I watched everything as I said, and it was a very fun experience. Enjoyed to see the different scenarios play out. Um, I think Stream Shocks had a very good car. I think the Chevys worked really well together. and he pulled out that checkered flag at the end. He's got his second victory in ODROs, then be the first winner of the season. So happy for him for that. Yeah, there's a lot of talk, as we said. The Fords fast. I think the Chevys were. I think everybody was really fast. I don't know. It's a plate track, so I can't really say somebody was faster than everybody else or a certain team was faster than everybody else. It's really just maintaining lines. Who could you trust pushing? Who could you trust leading you to the promised land type stuff? I really can't really say who was faster. I don't. A lot of talk about cars catching the front pack so far away. I can understand the point there, but it's like a grab boy
You're
package
5
is made
seconds
for
off.
that. I mean, yeah, when the grab boy package is made for that, it's like every line of cars is gonna catch the pack when the pack is can't push the leader on the bottom, and not a lot of people like to lead the bottom. Even if you go to the top, you're not gonna be as fast as cars running the bottom and a pack coming to catch you. You're always gonna catch it, so it's not like one of those major things. But everybody had the strategy. No issues going down pit road that I know about. I think maybe one. I forget. Oh, I think
I
the
think Cowboys missed. He missed pit road.
Cowboys missed it.
Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Yep.
And I think the issue. I think the 11 of Cobra had an issue with the 17 pushing. When Cobra got off track, the 17 hit him, and then Cobra missed pit road because of that. So that was one. That's another thing. But yeah, not a lot of issues. Not a lot of like black flags going down pit road. Everybody was very clean about that. That seemed to be a much better thing when it comes to this game compared to Heat 5, locking up the brakes and then giving people black flags. So very proud about that. Besides that, it was fun. Really happy with it. It was a good opening race. I think best premier opening race in a very, very long time. As we saw from the poll, I think nobody voted no. So I was very, very, very proud of that being a good race. And shout out to Shocks for winning that. Hendrik, there was a question for you in the podcast before we move to another series. How was your qualifying experience knowing that you had to qualify in? I know you mentioned it a little bit, but what was your thought process going into that Charter 40 system where you have to focus on qualifying just as much as race prep?
Yeah, so my thoughts on that exactly. Yeah, that was pressure packed. I know there was only one other person trying to qualify in, which is kind of why I didn't like the way that whole thing worked on Monday. I think Tango should have had an opportunity to race, but I guess one person scared some team owners off from losing another position. But yeah, for me at least, it was intense. I thought I was going to be the one to not qualify in. I did do one practice run before qualifying just to see what I had, and I guess that was the way that I should have done it, and it was just enough. I remember going back to the lap time results, and I saw I was like 28th or something, and I'm like, oh no, I did not make it. Next thing you know, I go up to Tango, and I see him in the 30s, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I actually got in. But yeah, I think in terms of just qualifying in, and I know there's new rules put in for NXT guys or truck guys that have the opportunity to race Premier. I I think that there needs to be a little bit more flexibility. I know some team owners complained about that last season when it came to a certain driver who drove an open team car for the majority of last season. You know. But regardless, it's affecting everyone else because it doesn't give them a chance to prove what they are capable of. Um, that's my thoughts on it, at least.
Yeah, it's one of those things where um, we had it in place on Heat 5, and um, because the new game and the new system we have for points allowed drivers to get subs and then have team points for subs, it really opened up things for people who probably wouldn't be weekly drivers in Premier Weekly, at a weekly chance. got that chance because they could be subs. And we really just wanted to cut that out. As team owners wanted to cut it out, even though they were partly to blame, just like the admins. And it was really just cutting it down. It's like you don't really want people racing for team for driver points and then having them have influence on anything. So it's like one of those things. And then Charter 40 was always in place for people outside of Premier to have one opportunity to qualify in, and that's pretty much what it's designed for. As we saw last season, we barely Charter 40 because everybody pretty much got handed a ride or asked somebody for a ride, and they got them in the race. So that's pretty much what the setup is. So I understand the issues regarding it, but in my opinion, if you're a Premier driver, you should be in Premier. If you're NXT, you should be in NXT. And then if you're trucks, you should be in trucks. And then, Grand National, Grand National. And then, you'll have opportunity for a hot ride for team points if your team needs a sub driver or not. And then sometimes you'll have an opportunity in Charter 40 if you feel like you get a start there. Also, Premier drivers going down to NXT, getting 3 starts. NXT drivers going to trucks, getting 3 starts. So it's like that. It's like let's try to get a more focus on the roster itself and not outside guys from other series getting in to fill spots when there's no spots to be filled because no more driver points to be acquired in a sub role. But yeah, I understand your point on it. Besides that, let's move. Go ahead, Brent. You got an opinion on it?
Yeah, so I mean, a few seasons ago, we created Charter 40, and essentially all of last season it was not utilized. So while I do agree with in some sort with Hendrick allowing some guys, and while I do see from that point, like allowing a guy like Tango to get in races, but I also see it like this: you're allowing teams have their designated subs now. So if drivers are out, they have designated subs. It's not like before where you just have a random guy just hopping in a ride. So in that sense, everything is set up perfectly now. You have subs for every series. I think that's how it should have been. I think that's more structured. And the Charter 40 now gets to be utilized every week, and that's what I like. It's there for a reason. It allows you guys to qualify in. Yes, I think in a sense it does limit you if you're a bad qualifier, and I do feel bad for guys who don't qualify well and have good race pace. That does suck, but they'll eventually get in some races, and I think if they're good enough, they'll be designated as a sub. I really do think team owners will probably allow them to run races, I guess. I mean, I would assume so because in that sense, I like that. It got to a point where we would have like 7 NXT guys just running every week in Premiere, where 7 to 8 guys subbing, and it didn't count against Charter 40. So I feel like having the structure there is just gonna make it more balanced, so we don't have a roster turnout every week. It's the same guys every week. That's what it needs to be. I like that factor. That's what I like about it. I understand from Hendrick's point of view though, because a guy like Tango, he can hold his own in Premiere, but it's just how it's going to be from now on. I think it's more structured. It's going to be better for at least the drivers. You get used to the guys around you, and then you get NXT guys every now and then who get to run the races for fun. That's how I feel about it.
Yep. It doesn't, take away the fact that, if a team has a multiple weeks of a driver not showing up, you have a designated sub from NXT or truck to fill that gap. Example, the NXT 715. I have a driver suspended next week, so I need a sub for that car, and I have a designated sub in Georgia Dog who will probably be in the car at Atlanta, and say, okay, doesn't mean the Georgia Dog gets to race every week in NXT, but he's the designated sub to move up and get that ride, or if I have a Premier driver coming down and they get the ride. So it's like one of those things where instead of having it doesn't really hurt the roster turnout as much. In my opinion, I think it brings it down probably 5-10% when it I think we had probably average of 26 drivers last season Premier. I think this would probably get it to 24, 23 when those nights. I don't think right now. I think the setup for the roster is at a 30. So I think it would probably bring it down to 28 if that number stays intact as 30 full-time drivers. Um, so yeah, I think that would be. I think that's just the right way to go, especially now with no driver points. So 40 is the way to go, and I think everybody's gonna have an opportunity to do it. That's why we didn't take away the 40 charter 40. We're just gonna have a list of people who can do it based on their Sunday experience, and say, all right, you guys are allowed to qualify in. No, there's no restrictions on it. We're not saying charter 40 guys have 3 races to do it or not. They're just okay. We believe these guys will hold their own in a premier race and don't have to worry about them influencing anything. And just if some people show up, some people will sign up one time and never show up again. Never sign up again. Some people sometimes will have 4 signups in one race and say, all right, 4 people will qualify. First best one races. So I like that aspect. It's a nice little storyline as well. Once we get back to broadcasting. But let's see if there's any other podcast starting premiere, because that's one thing I don't do very well is getting these podcast questions centered around certain series. Not really right now. We'll move on to NXT. Well, this one was an adventure. I'll tell you that. It was. Well, first off, at a unknown driver show up out of nowhere.
Yeah, anyone.
Anyone heard about that one for the last 5 laps from a certain HVM driver. But it happened. Didn't know he was a driver. Didn't know if he was a driver or not, because it's a new roster. You don't know different gamer tags. Who change gamer tags like it's changing underwear. So it's one of those things. He was in a car that nobody had, so we didn't know up top. Changed his gamer tag. Probably about 40 laps into the race. We did. I would say 30. I would say 30. It's a 57 lap race. Probably first 30 laps. Didn't know who he was. A lot of people were in parties who knew the guy, but weren't able to tell us who the guy was or warn us in the first couple laps that we need to restart. And that's probably what the best scenario is if somebody said, hey, that guy's an unknown. I know who the guy is. He shouldn't be here. That's probably would be the best thing. But it didn't. He showed up. I think he was one of the cleaner guys of the night. Somehow got a ride out of it. The guy who got him in was my driver. I don't condone that stuff. I didn't know about it. I suspended him. We took it easy on him because we promised the guy who came in for the truth, because a couple people were thrown under the bus because of it, and we didn't want to remove certain innocent people because people were thrown under the bus, not trying to get the guy in trouble who did it. But probably lap 40, we figured out who probably did it, and it was the guy who we thought it was. But wanted to take it easy on the people who it wasn't, and not try to pressure somebody into a penalty when it wasn't them. But the race in general, it was not a very good race. I had its moments. I think a good stage finish here and there. It just really wasn't. No patience, really. I would say no patience. I would say a lot of bumper issues. A lot of it. It's 10 times different than a cup bumper. You gotta protect each other, and it just wasn't a lot of protection from each other. It was just pushing to go to the lineup, and it was just chaos. Brandon, what was your experience like watching this one from your vantage point? If you were able to watch it.
I was amazed, and I saw someone rage quit or leave the race because of all the madness that was going on. All I know is that there was a big one at the end, and the 2 car come unscathed, because I think I was watching Pump's point of view. I don't know what I was doing again, but I know what happened. Essentially, they got separated. Big pack, big wreck, and then 2 car came out unscathed. I don't know how he was able to hold on, but I was amazed that we had a guy who no one knew, and he somehow won the race. I was laughing my ass off all night. I'm not even gonna lie
Yeah,
to you.
imagine a guy showing up, knowing all the rules, doing all the rules. It's not like he came in like here's my vantage point of it. Like as a league owner, he came in as a troll. I think he wanted to troll. Um, not like troll like as a wrecker, not as a that type thing, but I think he wanted to help his friend out and push him to a win type thing, and push his friends to win. I think he had a couple friends in there that he was friendly with. But I think the guy came in there as a troll, ready to make some chaos. But then he realized, oh, this is a real established league with like and he saw the great parts of the league and like, oh, this is the potential. Like I can race here, and I don't want to ruin my chance to race here. And he's like, oh, I can be here and not be a menace and be a real driver here. And I think it changed. Like, okay, let me. And then he followed every rule. He knew the graboid package. He knew when a caution came out. He knew when a choose rule was there. So I'm sure he was in a party with the person who got him in. Something, something weird, but I think he gets a pass because I think how clean he was. But we'll see what happens in NXT. A plate race can be one thing, but is he gonna be great at a Texas or a Charlotte? To be determined. So we'll find out because you know how different this
Yep.
league is compared to other leagues. You might feel fast in one league, and you come here, and you might not make it out of trucks speed wise. So you got to be very careful. But clean wise, I think he passed the clean test, so he'll get a opportunity there. Tyreek signed him. I figured 30 laps into it, he was gonna get signed by somebody because especially when you win the race, it's like, oh, okay, so he can find himself up top and find himself in victory lane out of nowhere. He did not get the win. Reagan Boy got the win. He was DQ'd for the win because he was not in the league. So Reagan Boy, shout out Reagan Boy for the win. The one instance of this race, Hendrick, we can discuss here about the last restart. Should it have been a caution? Should it have not been a caution? The issue I have is I made it clear that it was a restart on multiple occasions, but evidently 40 to 50% of the people in the lobby did not hear that it was going to be a restart. Probably the first 10 cars knew it was going to be a restart. They left. I forget what number Impact was, 25, 26. 25 got turned by Spartan into the infield, which checked everybody else behind them as well. So you had a bunch of separation there. So should it have been a caution? Should it not been? I think going back on it, I think I probably would have called a caution. Again, after reflecting on it, probably called a caution, just stacked up and did it again. Not having Impact get that spot back because he spun out, but get everybody else in the same order going again. Hendrick, what was your viewpoint on that final restart that maybe should have been a caution, shouldn't have been a caution? Should have
I
been
know I was
recalled a
ahead
caution.
of the incident. All I can remember when that was happening was just hearing Impact, get pissed off about it, which rightfully so.
Yeah.
Uh, but I know that I was one of the few that benefited from it because it allowed me to, actually get away from a good portion of the field and just to kind of ride it out. Unfortunately, I didn't get the payoff that it deserved because of that late wreck. But yeah,
Did you hear me say it was going to be a restart?
I I knew that we were restarting on that lap.
Okay.
Um, so that kind of helped out a bit, and I was like towards the top 5-ish, 10-ish when that happened. But yeah, I do think that it should have been like a false restart, but maybe
Yeah.
put Impact at the back.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the viewpoint is one car around. You're really not a caution. You can't really not really caution. And the history, we have had waived off caution. We've waived off a restart if a car spins out in front of the field or into the field, and obviously you're gonna have to restart because it's gonna impact a whole bunch of people on a restart. This one was, I think, some miscommunication between a lot of people not knowing it's a restart, and then that incident causing more issues behind there. But looking in hindsight, um, should have been a restart probably, and we'll work on that in the future. I think everybody worked together. I think it helped a lot in the end because it helped everybody separate and work together to recatch the lead, which I think pretty much 60% of the field did. I think I saw the final count before that big wreck happened. At the end was, I think, 22 drivers in that final draft, in that final big leading pack. So yeah, that was pretty much the thought process there. It wasn't a very good race. I think the aggressiveness has to calm down a little bit in NXT. Line maintenance as well. Same way with trucks. I think it's growing pains with both of them being a little bit different rosters and learning different cars, that kind of stuff. I expect different. I know Atlanta can be a tough plate track, and going to be a little more gridlocked than Talladega would be. But it has this potential. It's just finding the groove, finding the issues, putting a stop to the issues and figuring out the future. But shout out Reagan Boy, he earned it. I understand it was a controversial finish with not having a league driver in front of you, but a win is a win. He deserved it. He earned it. Congratulations to him. It was a good one. It was a good TBR Premier win, good TBR NXT win, and then we'll move on to trucks now. That one's pretty much the same thing as NXT. Little less issues. I think these races compact as pretty much issues for the simple fact it's a very less lap race than the other ones. So the issues pile up more when you have less laps to achieve something. So when a caution happens in a truck or NXT season, it's like, okay, you have to take the lap to figure out who the strike is on, then you pit the next lap, and then you choose the next lap. Then you're looking at probably a 3-lap restart, sometimes 5-lap restart, and it's just really hard to gain something on a play track with that less laps. So look at that. Trucks had a nice, I think, a little run there, 10-lap run, 6 to 10-lap run where we were fine, and it just was just an issue. We just couldn't get a good groove with it. Shout out Polish for going down and being a NXT driver, going down and getting that victory in trucks. Shout out him for getting that first win in the league. But yeah, it was a very issue-filled races with trucks and NXT. Does anybody have a opinion on those two?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, it was pretty much that. We'll move on to shout out Grand National though. Shout out Grand National. We won't do a full review or anything like that, but they had a very, very good opening race. We had some issues with the Xbox crashing for invites, so we had to do a public lobby, and it was a little chaotic, but everybody did a great job. I think we had one caution. Yeah, I think we had one caution there, and then we had the halfway caution that won't count as for calls. That led up to two cautions. I would say two cautions. I think we had a caution before the halfway, and then after the halfway, because it got us to a green-white checkered, and then we ended up under caution because we were crossing the start-finish line when the 8-game caution came out. But very good race overall. Everybody did a great job, and I was very, very pleased with it. Shout out Lachero for getting that win. But we'll move on to these podcast questions. Some interesting ones tonight. Bren. Oh, this is Brad. I'm sorry, I said Brad. Do I think the Truck Series at Dega was an isolated incident, or do you expect more of the same with the new regime? I don't know about a new regime. It's a different group. It's just a different roster. You add people like SRG full time now. Baked in there now, Clicks in there now. It's just a different. There's some learning points you gotta go. I think easing yourself into a season with a plate track back to back can help you realize who's what, who can hold a line, who can't hold a line, who can be issues, who can't be issues. That helps us understand what we can do in the future to help before we get to a Texas or Charlotte. I understand we have a 2-week off break after Texas, so we can revamp anything we have to revamp after that. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be an issue long term. I think it's just getting the kinks out. It's just getting some issues out of the way. It's a lot of pump drafting issues, aggressiveness issues, that kind of stuff. I believe trucks will handle that better at a 1.5 mile than a plate track. When you know everybody can win at a plate track, in some people's eyes, so it's one of those things. I don't think it's an isolated. I think it's just one couple. It'll have its. These series are designed to not be the greatest every week. Truck Series put on a big bar last season, being probably the best series from top to bottom in the season, and I just think it's a hard bar to keep going for. I think they're gonna have to take a step back and say, okay, we're gonna have some issues, especially when it becomes more developmental, more
Different
more
groups. That's
competitive.
the
Yeah,
main
it's
thing.
different. Yeah, it's growing pains. It's
Different
pretty much what
group.
it is. Um, so yeah, it's just adjusting. It's a biggie. NXT's gonna go through it. Premier had the best race of the weekend because less turnover. There's not a big roster turnover. They just did the race probably with the same exact number of people and the same exact drivers from a month ago. So they knew what to expect. They knew what would work, what would not work. Pretty much that's pretty different than NXT. There's new guys coming in, old guys coming in, trucks from NXT going down to truck, that type of stuff. So I'm not really worried long term. I won't bash them unless they improve. It's improving every week is the biggest thing. Unless everybody else has a different opinion than me, I'll move on to the next question.
No, I mean, like you said, when those groups gel, they'll be a lot better. It takes
Yeah.
a few weeks. I think even for Premier, I know, like you said, we have the same type of guys, but they're going full time this season, so they have to get adjusted, and that's something that we saw a little bit boil over in week 1. That was definitely interesting.
Yeah. How close? How close or far? This is for you, Brent. I'll ask you this: How close or far is Thunderbolt from being in the conversation of being the top team like HVM and ILM?
I mean, I like to shit on Stein, and I understand he likes to shit on a lot of people, and we like to make jokes and stuff. But what he's built over there is a really solid team. I like to give his flowers. He does build a good roster. He has a good premier roster. Shocks, obviously Shocks. Oh God, let me think. Shocks Whelp.
Yep.
He doesn't
They
have
go
Tyreek. He has
himself.
Tata and himself.
Yep.
That's a really solid premier roster. I had to recheck his NXT roster. I know Reagan was able to get a win after we had a DQ
Reagan
last week, so
Lyle. Top of my head, it's
yeah.
Reagan Lyle. Forget the other ones. No offense to anybody. I forget the other ones top of my head. I'm sure it's somebody. Andy. Andy, one of them.
Hey, AMC maybe?
Andy's one
Is
of
it?
them. I think Andy's one of them. I think I'm missing one more. Might be a. Hello. Missing. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting you. It's on its channel. I'm sure
All I'll
you're probably.
say,
Go ahead.
all I'll say is that I like a lot of his drivers on his rosters. Even his truck roster, I like Click a lot. I think he's really good in terms of what he can do in trucks. So in terms of overall, yes, I think Premier wise, they're a lot closer to HVM and ILM now. ILM had a little bit of struggle on the tracks they usually are really good at, so that was something that we're going to keep an eye on heading to this week because if that happens again, I mean, Ironman might have to start helping them out a little bit. At Super Seaways again, I don't know how that will work, but in terms of TBR, yes, they're there. We'd like to shit on Stein a lot about it, but he did build a solid roster. I think they'll be very competitive. It's just really emotions throughout the season, that's going to be the big thing for that roster, especially in Premier. Can they control it? And if they can, they'll be very competitive.
Now, Hendrik, to go off that, there's another question that has the same kind of do we think that ILM made a wrong decision on getting rid of Stein for the NLS Tyreek pairing to be at ILM, or do we feel like it's just too early to tell with that?
I think it's too early to tell on that one. Although I will say NLS has helped ever since he did arrive. But yeah, I think just one, weekend of racing is a very small sample size.
Yep.
Yep. Last one here. Anything that stands up as your which NXT driver could you see scoring their first win next? That's a good question. Any one of my drivers, they're all new. Pumps is obviously one. Anybody stand out to y'all?
I wish you updated the rosters.
They're in there.
In the actual. Oh wait, is it?
Yeah, they're in
Not that.
You got to hit the link to the points link.
Oh, okay, my bad. I'm gonna go with a rookie. Obviously we're at a plate track next week, so I don't really. Let me look at the roster real quick. Um, I feel like No Mighty. I felt like he had a good week at Talladega. I know he's not one of the guys that you would think of when you think of that, but he ran very well at Talladega, if I'm not mistaken. I think he finished third. He was
Yes.
third or fourth. He
Yep,
got
third.
away from the incident, and I felt like he had good speed there. Another guy, I'm just thinking of guys that haven't won yet and could be a factor. Obviously, a guy like Pumps or Tony can be a factor at most of the tracks, intermediates especially, I would assume. Um, Another guy that I could see potentially being a factor, and this is just because how I know he is at short tracks and is Lefty. I don't know how good he is in Xfinity cars. I don't know when our first short track is, so that could be the first guy to win. It would probably take a little bit. I think he can win on intermediates. It's just going to be a little harder on controller. But yeah, I think Lefty's another guy that you got to look at. Very underrated. Could surprise a lot of people later on in the season when he gets used to his cars, same as he did in trucks. Because you saw at the end of the truck season that he turned it up, and that's something that you got to look out for.
Yep.
In terms of
And
getting a
Hendrik,
win.
you have anybody? Hendrik's another one as well.
It could be him, yes.
Yeah.
Hendrik is very
Hendrik, do you have
capable
anybody
of winning.
besides yourself? Anybody stands out to yourself? T-Stone, maybe?
In
There's so
terms
many
of
rookies.
first wins, based on my experience in the past, I'm gonna say Cambo maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he would be a sneaky one. In terms of anyone else, I mean, I do agree with Pumps and Tony. Lefty, I don't think next week's gonna happen, but when we do get to the short tracks, I think that he will be a factor. Um, yeah, who knows? Maybe even Lando's gonna get a win this time, and maybe he'll get the keep.
Official one. Yeah, true, very true. I've heard that story before. I've heard the getting a look.
You played these games before?
Yeah, I've not as a unknown coming into a series, but a rookie tends to always find themselves up front in a first race type thing. I think Lyle did it his first race ever here. Banjo, I think, did it one time. It's like one of those things where, oh, okay, you open some eyes, and you get some respect that way with the win without being so aggressive about it. But yeah, let's move on. These Echo Park, Atlanta. What do we expect here? I'm hoping for less chaos with the two under series here with NXT and trucks. Um, just a little. I'm okay with some. I'm okay with some single file, less. Less pushing, a little more riding type thing. What do you expect here? What do you expect here, Bren, for the truck series at the very least right now? Do you expect the same chaos, or do the truck series tame it back a little more?
I'm gonna be honest with you right now. I expect a little bit of chaos just until we get to the normal tracks. I think right now a lot of new guys, and it's just gonna happen.
Mm.
I think Matt, you're gonna handle it very well. I think you're gonna be able to calm them down eventually and get them into rhythm. I think you
Mhm.
got a lot of guys that are very good in that series, and this is not slight to them. It's just you got a lot of new guys, and they haven't run with one another ever. And you got 30 plus new guys, and they're all learning. So when you got 30 plus learning guys, it's gonna be a little chaotic to start out, and feel like once they get to Texas, I think things will start to settle down. You get the off week, Charlotte, Watkins Glen, and then you get another Super Speedway, which I think they'll be good at Daytona. By Daytona, they'll be settled in. I just think right now you're gonna see a little bit better race than I think Talladega though. I think they'll actually go green. I think they'll have green flag pit stops. I think they did at Dega, did they?
Um, I don't recall off the top of my head. No, I don't think so.
I
No, I
think
don't
they'll
think they
have
did.
green. I think they'll have green flag pit stops if it comes down to that.
NXT
Atlanta
did. Trucks
is
did not. For my
yeah.
memory.
Atlanta is honestly, I think is fun, but it also becomes gridlocked in terms of
Mhm. Yep.
Cup. I haven't run as much in trucks as I have in Cup, but it became very gridlocked whenever I ran it in Cup. So expect that. But again, those cars are a lot looser, so you got to make sure that you got to make sure you hit in between the numbers. Basically, you got to hit
Hmm.
him square. You can't hit him in the corner panel. You can't hit him on the side. You'll spin them around, bubble them. That's something you got to keep in mind. Also, staying hooked, being the third person in line and staying hooked to the guy ahead of you. I don't recommend doing that. Just let off, give room, and then
Agree.
give them bumps. Just
Just
don't stay
ride
hooked to
along.
them.
Ride. Just ride. All you gotta do is ride. The line will go forward as long as you ride. There's only two lines you really can do. Don't force it through wide unless you absolutely have to. To save somebody, save a checkup, save something. Forcing it to go into the sucker hole, fine. But this cannot be a 3-lane track where you're forcing 3 lanes 6 deep, pushing, pushing, pushing. It really has to be a 2-lane gridlock. Save a couple laps of
Laps.
fuel to help your fuel mileage to get yourself less time on pit road, and then you can get some track position that way, in my opinion, because you'll be if you go in as a 14th place driver, you save more gas than the people in front of you, jump them a little more when it all cycles through, and then you'll get that track position for the long run. That type of stuff. I think people need to realize more, especially in the lower series, that if you're back here, there's not going to be a really place to go. You're going to have to think about outside the box ways to improve your position and then go forward. And then when the chaos happens, when the crunch time happens, stay out of this trouble, and then keep the truck safe, keep the car safe, stay straight, and get a good position, get a good finish. Hendrik, how about you? How do you feel about the trucks? You raced here in the trucks before. I think you got a third place finish last item. I think I watched that. I think I watched the last race here a couple days ago. I think you got
Yep.
a third or fifth place finish. I think you were third. I was fifth. But you had a nice scenario there. What's your expectations for this flock of drivers?
Um, I do think we're going to see something like last season where it's mostly going to be single file, just trying to keep yourself in line. But also, I wouldn't be shocked if people try to force people out of line or to take advantage of any like cracks, like openings that some people may leave. Because I mean, with the single file stuff, it's going to be hard to try and advance your position if no one's going to try and make moves. So if you're going to try and get up there, you're more than likely just going to try and get people out of the line. So I wouldn't be shocked if it happens like that again. And I think that's what will happen. I do think that the last stage, however, I think there will be a little bit more chaos than last season.
Yeah, you definitely see that. Definitely see that. But let's get to our picks here for trucks. I'll start with Hendrick first this week. Who is your pick for trucks, and who is your dark horse pick?
So first off, I'll say shout out to Holy for getting me the pick win last week for
Yep,
truck.
true, very true. Yep.
But for this week, I'm gonna go with someone who is a little bit more acclimated with Holy in terms of these kinds of races. My primary pick this week, I am going to go with I'm gonna go with Georgia Dog on this one.
Okay. Okay.
Hometown track for him, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I go back to the Las Vegas race. There's similarities there when you think about it. Just, trying to, get yourself in the right position at the right time, relying on draft. You know, I think this is going to fit really well with his skill house or his powerhouse. Um, I think it's really going to be depending on experience in these kinds of moments with especially the pitch strategy. Georgia was the best at that at the Vegas playoff race last season, and I think that's going to carry over to this weekend's race.
Gotcha.
And then my dark horse pick, he was really good the last time that we raced here in trucks. Unfortunately, just didn't have the ending that he had wanted. I'm going to go with Cowboy Tech. He was as high as second, I believe, at one point in that last race and demonstrated great speed. Again, it was just a bad ending, and I think that changes this Saturday.
Very nice. Very nice. Brian, how about you? Who is your main pick, and who is your dark horse for trucks at Echo Park, Atlanta?
Okay. All right. Well, okay. We got it. All right. My main pick this week is gonna be iTrip. Um, obviously solid guy. Guy who returned to the truck series after winning a race or two. I think he gets back on that way of thought, and I think he wins this week at Atlanta. My dark horse this week.
Take mine. Don't take mine. Don't take mine.
Let's
Don't think about
go.
it. Don't think about it.
Let's go, Doc.
Okay.
Let's go, Doc
Okay.
Manners.
Very nice. Very nice. Shout out, Doc. All right. So I'm gonna pick. Ooh, who's my number one here? I'm gonna pick EXO for my main pick, and then my dark horse pick is going to be Click. I think Click.
I knew someone was gonna take him.
Yeah,
I
that
was
my
waiting
pick.
for it.
Click is somebody who's getting himself up. He's practicing with everybody. So shout out Click for getting everybody in the right, mindset going into this week's race. He wants everybody in the right track. Everybody, getting open practices. Shout out for him for the help for that. I always like anybody who take the initiative and wants to help anybody they can. It really goes a long way league wise, and I think he wants to see the best for the league, and it goes a very very long way for me especially. And I think he really has a great chance here. And if he's around the right people in the end, I think they know how to they will know how to protect him more when it comes to getting him in the lead and then having him do the rest from there. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do with that long term at the trucks in Atlanta. But I'm looking forward to it. I think the chaos can happen. I'm holding my breath because if Talladega doesn't go well, Atlanta, it doesn't really say it's gonna go well by just the look of it and the feel of it. Trucks very loose. The wall can bite you. You stuck into the wall. There's like 7 people behind you getting stuck into the wall right with you. The runs at Atlanta are very similar to real life, where if you do lose, you hit that wall, and you have people with you, the draft will get you right back to where you want to be. It's just really about patience. It's really about if there's a group of drivers who really say, why do we leave? Why do we have to be in front this whole stretch of laps and say let's just ride like the old Tony Stewart type of mentality, the old Jimmy Johnson mentality at these plate tracks of just hanging out in the back, and then flipping the track position when you get the fuel mileage to your liking. That's pretty much where I think the win can come from. Obviously, it's not guaranteed because you never know when a caution is going to come out. But if it goes green and you have a group of drivers showing patience, knowing gridlock is going to happen, and if you ride and dodge the car spinning here and there, because I think that's going to happen with this front stretch the way it is. Cars tend to get spun on the front stretch more than anything into the grass, and that doesn't really lead to a caution unless it's in turn one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it as I always am. Every race I'm looking forward to, but it can be definitely chaotic. So hopefully everybody's on the right page when it comes to patience and laying out those bumpers and not having Talladega all over again. Speaking of Talladega all over again, let's move on to the NXT.
Hendrick.
Bren, what? Go ahead. What?
Oh, my bad.
I'll
No,
start
you're
with
good.
you, Bren. Who is your main pick for NXT, and who is your dark horse? A little different here compared to Trucks. I think Trucks a little more tighter when it comes to that outside. I know when the game first came out, it had a little glitch of every time you let off in these trucks, the truck would have want to hit the outside wall. I think that they fixed that in the earlier updates. What's your opinion on this NXT pick wise, and who is your dark horse?
My dark horse. Okay. So my dark horse this week is very simple, and I'm going with commentator bias this week.
Okay.
I'm going with Hendrick.
Okay.
Obviously good team set up around him. He's got very good guys to lean on. He's obviously on wheel now, so he's able to hold a line a lot better. With a track like Atlanta, you need to hold a good steady line. Extended cars are a little harder to push, but I think with him being able to hold a line steady, people are going to be wanting to follow him, and he'll have teammates to work with him. And then my main pick this week is someone surprising. I know a lot of guys. I think he's underrated now. In extended cars, I don't know if he's underrated. He's just kind of there. He's kind of, I don't know how to describe him. I'm going with Polish. I feel like extended cars, he's going to be a little bit better than he was in cup cars. I think he'll be a top 10, top 15 guy every week, and I think this week is a good opportunity for him to still win.
Okay. Repeat your dark horse again. My mic was messed up.
Hendrick.
Hendrick. That's right. Hendrick, and then Polish is your main one.
Yep.
All right, I'll go next since this is Hendrick's series, so I will go next, and I will go. Who am I gonna go here? I'm gonna go. I gotta go. I gotta go with the man. I know it's probably 2 weeks in a row, but I gotta go with Pied Piper. I gotta go Iron Man here. Won it last season, and I know that was Cup cars with a last lap 3-wide pass over Impact. I do believe in maybe Lyle. I think it was. So I think he can get back again. I think he loves this place, the way it drives compared to handling wise. It really suits wheel users as a plate track. I think it really does. I think he's one of the top drivers when it comes to graboid and plate racing. So it leads to him. As long as he has no issues, he should be fine here and have a chance to win. I'm going with him as my main pick, and then my dark horse is going to be. I'm gonna say dark horse is going to be. Ooh, I'm gonna say Tony. I'm gonna say Tony Flicks. I think his aggressiveness shows on plate tracks more than anything. And I think if he has in the right position at the right time at this final run, gets a good pit stop, gets it good cleared out if it goes green. If it's very late start, I think if he has a track position, he can really force the issue, get to the outside with a line of cars and reclaim what line he's in and get that advantage going towards the checker flag. But yeah, I think Tony has a real chance. Hendrick, how about you? Who's your pick for NXT Atlanta, Echo Park?
I'm going to start with my dark horse pick,
Okay.
I talked about him earlier. Missing the premier race at Talladega, I think is going to light a fire in him this Sunday. I'm going to
Okay.
say Tango is a good dark horse pick.
Okay.
Um, I just feel like when I do race with Tango at mile and a half, he always puts himself in a decent position at the end. I sometimes it goes very well for him. Sometimes something happens and he gets the bad end of the stick. But I think this Sunday he's going to be a little bit more motivated, and I think it's going to end up very well for him. And then for my primary pick this week, I worked with him actually when I did do NXT last season at Atlanta, and I believe now that I think about it, let me go back to the race results. Let me see. There it is. See, I finished 2 spots behind him.
Okay.
Um, I'm gonna go with Lyle. You know,
Okay.
Lyle did finish sixth. To answer the question that you had earlier with the 3 wide finish, it was Ironman lost in Impact. But
Okay.
Lyle
I'm
was.
lost. Okay.
I remember Lyle being one of those guys that was consistently up in the front. You never saw him in the back of the pack. It feels like he is always one of those guys that you are going to see up there.
Mhm.
So I would not be shocked if he corrects a mistake and he ends up, being a top 2 guy, maybe even winning the race.
Okay. All right. I like this. I like this pick. I like this a lot. Um. All right. Let's move on to the big show here. The main event for Monday. Premier Series was a great race last time we were here. I would say it was a tame race. I think it was one of those things where it was fuel mileage from the beginning, so it was pretty tamed. It had outside was fuel mileage. People who didn't want fuel mileage that much went out to the outside, passed everybody on the outside, and then got in line where they wanted to, or the biggest opening possible. I think it changes a little bit here. I think it's a little easier with these Cup cars at this track more than anything, just because the pushing's better. And just gotta stay out that wall and stay away from the 3 wide sucker hole type thing. I will start with you, Hendrik, here for Premiere, and then I'll go to me, and then Brennan can clean us up because it's his series that he races in full time. But Hendrik, who is your main pick for Premiere, and who is your dark horse for Premiere for Atlanta Echo Park?
Okay. Um, for my dark horse pick, um, I'm gonna go with someone who did not have a good ending at Talladega. He's really low in the points. I had talks with him about it. I believe he's going to be one of those guys that is deep down in the point standings that will find himself back up towards the top. I'm going to go with Blue Star as my dark horse pick.
Okay.
God damn
Only
it, dark
second in the
horse.
points. You
He's a
know,
rookie. He's a considered dark horse.
his confidence right now in recovering is low, but I told him I think he's going to be one that ends up climbing back up towards the top. This is
Yeah.
the perfect way to do it. I think Blue Star will be a contender on Monday. And then for my primary pick, um, go on ahead and I'm going to go on ahead and take Valley Racing as my primary. He
I
is the
like it.
first one below the cut line after the first race. People thought that Valley's going to start winning races very early in the season, and I think for me, I think he wins in race 2.
Okay, I like that pick. I really do. I think you stole my pick. I had 2 picks and you stole one of them. And now I'm going to take the other one. So Brennan can't take it because you know he's going to be a homer here. I'm going to go Sterlo as my main pick. Now, I
Wow.
don't I don't necessarily agree with the consensus of the forward drivers that they were the fastest cars out there for Talladega because it's a play track. But I do concede that I do believe there's a real thing about the Fords being able to push better. And I think they can stick to each other's bumpers a little more. I don't know if it's a real thing or just a made up thing in my head. I know it's a real life thing. with each other. So I do believe they have a real chance here, as you picked Valleys yourself. I think Sterlo's the one who will be aggressive going for it the most at the end. As we saw, it was the most aggressive one in that leading that line in Talladega. So I definitely think he has a chance here. Stay away from that late race wreck that he had no involvement in until the car comes up into him against the wall. We had nowhere to go, along with Brennan and a couple others. So if he stays away from that, and there's no issue with that, and it's straight to the line, I really think he has the best opportunity. Knowing that if he has the Fords with him as well, that it could be a really great night for the Fords, and they are definitely known for this track as well. I'm gonna go dark horse here. Oh, who's my dark horse here? I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna go Jumanji Happy as my dark horse. I think he really had a great Talladega race. That his results did. I know it's a homer pick. I don't think his results came out the way he wanted to at Talladega, but he was in the top 5 with like 3 to go before that caution happened. And bad luck here, bad luck there. I really think he understands the package now better, drafting wise. He can hold a line with the lane. I think he's the up and coming rookie, the unknowns. I think he takes the momentum from Talladega that he learned a couple things, and use it here and gets that has the opportunity to get that win as a dark horse. Now it's Oval here for you. I know you didn't get a pick for NXT or trucks. I'll stay away from those this season, but I will give you premier picks for producer picks here because that's the main series. Who is your pick? The producer pick for the main series, premiere series on Monday. Who is your producer pick?
Give me 1 minute to think about this here.
Just let me go.
Oh no, Brandon, you're gonna wait. You're gonna wait.
Brandon, you're gonna have to wait a minute, man. I gotta think about this, and I'm sure Hendrick just wants to.
Dummy, yeah.
But
Dummy,
Yeah.
yeah.
oh man. Give me Whelp Dang.
Okay. Okay, good one. All right, Brandon, who is your pick for Atlanta? I know you're gonna pick yourself, so let's go away. Let's get it out of. Let's get it out. You're gonna pick. Who is your pick?
No.
Do we stay?
No.
Okay, here's a question for you. Did we take your picks?
Do you take my picks? What do you mean?
Yeah. Did we? Did we take your picks?
Hendrick forced my hand, and I have to pick him as the main pick now. Blue Star was gonna be my dark horse, and Hendrick kind of forced me to pick him as my main pick. I think Blue Star obviously is on controller. I think he's got a good shot this week. He has speed at Atlanta. I've seen it before. He can run top 5, top 10. We got a good setup for him there. And then my dark horse this week, I'm going with someone who kind of got screwed at a super speedway type of racetrack last week. Sales got lapped multiple times. I know he's considered.
No, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that a little before you make the pick. Let's talk that. Now, in hindsight, that should have been probably a caution. Looking back at it, that should have been a caution. I was told at the time I didn't have a good angle at it, so I had to trust the other admin in the group and said it was two separate incidences. In my opinion, looking back at the video, it's the same incident because the 17 pushes the bottom down because he is missing the 88, which is going around on the top of the track, like it's going in circles. So he has to miss the 88 going down, gets clipped by a car on the bottom, and then goes around. In my opinion, that's 2 cars around in the same wreck. The 17 wouldn't have gone around if it wasn't for the 88 getting spun in that scenario. 2 separate incidences, in my opinion, are if 2 cars go around 2 different turns and they have nothing to do with each other. But continue.
Okay. Like I said, Sales obviously has speed. He's a dark horse for me, so I'm going with Blue Star. I finally went Homer this week. I know everyone was waiting for it. They're like, Brent always goes Homer. I had to do it eventually. I think premier-wise, Blue Star obviously has the speed. I really do believe in him whenever he gets his mindset right. And then Sales has good speed. It's really about pitch strategy for Sales. If he can figure out the pitch strategy, I think he'll be dangerous. I'm just saying that right now.
Okay. I would have flipped that, but all right. Um, that's just my opinion. Nothing wrong with sharing. It's nothing wrong with sharing dark horses. I'll tell you that.
Oh wait, were you Sales dark horse?
No, I'm saying you. I'm saying nothing wrong with you and Hendrick sharing dark. You said you picked the 17 because Hendrick had him as his dark horse,
The original.
and you're picking. Now you're
Well,
picking.
I'm willing. Well, my mindset was before. If I would have gone before Hendrick, anyways, I would have picked him. But if he makes me pick him as a dark, I want to pick him ahead of him, just so I can jump
Alright.
him. That's the
Alright,
main
no
reason.
biggie.
Because I know Blue Star is gonna run well.
Okay, all right. I was a joke about you not getting a pick there. I was gonna hold you. I was gonna hold you out till I could see you squirming. I can't get a pick. I can't get a pick. Hit me
You
with
definitely
the
made me.
Yoshi. Hit me with the Yoshi sound. What the fuck,
No.
man?
Are
Come
you
on,
fucking
Solvable.
serious, Bren? What the fuck are you doing?
What the fuck are you doing? Not to mention that guy wrecked you twice this week. I do want to say that out loud.
Dude, he's been okay. This is off topic, and this is not something that I'm never gonna start a fight. But lately, he has been getting into me on these super speedways, bro. I think he's gotten into me the last 3 times. The last 2 times I've been in super speedways, he's gotten into me by accident. So it's been happening.
Yeah.
He's getting his revenge for Michigan. Trust.
Can I take a moment to say at least we didn't have to worry about getting a heads up this time?
Yeah, true.
that's
That's
true.
true. That's true. That's true. There was an opportunity for somebody to do that, but they decided against it. So I was happy they decided against it. But no, we won't go any further with that. But that's our that's our episode for the week. I know it was a tough one for NXT and Trucks, but we'll get back to it this week at Atlanta. Hopefully, it's a better showing and people can realize what to work on last week and get focused for this week for both those series, and definitely improve the product on the racetrack in the video game world. But with that being said, shout out everybody for listening. Subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification button. It helps a lot. It helps Solvable a lot too. Appreciate Solvable for producing as always. And then always shout out Hendrick for being here, and shout out Brent for being here as always. We'll be back next week for episode 79, and we'll be recapping Atlanta and previewing Texas before our off week. Week after that, and we'll see what happens with that. And until then, we will see y'all next week. And unless I'm forgetting anything, we are out.